So you have a really good life. You're clever and very capable. And you're the person that everyone else relies on to kind of hold it all together. So whether that might be at work or in your family or maybe in your community, you're someone who people come to because you can handle it. And outwardly you appear calm and competent and completely grounded. But inside, your mind simply does not switch off. So most people in your life probably wouldn't guess how much time you spend trapped inside your own head, paying attention to your thinking. They see someone who has it all pretty much figured out, but the reality is you spend an absolute fortune of time and energy managing that internal static in your head. So let me give you an example. So you're lying in bed at the end of a perfectly ordinary day, nothing went wrong, and yet there you are at 11 o'clock replaying one sentence you said in a meeting maybe 9 hours ago, wondering did it come out wrong, whether your colleague took it the wrong way than you meant it, or maybe you've drafted the same short email 4 times because the first version sounded too blunt, and then it sounded too soft, and then it sounded too keen. A 2-line email, 15 minutes of your life. And I also know that you probably hold yourself to harsh standards that you would never dream of applying to a friend. You forgive other people pretty much straight away, but you'll replay your own tiny little mistakes for days on repeat. And you'll tell your daughter or your friends that they're enough exactly as they are, and then you spend your entire evening, picking apart everything that you said. So if you're deeply and fundamentally tired of doing your own head in, tired of that voice being the loudest thing in your mind and in your experience, I want you just to take a deep breath now. Because in this video, I'm going to show you what's actually driving that noise. I'm going to give it a name and I'm going to show you why you've never been the problem. So let's start with the voice itself. So in my work, I give that voice a name and I call her Sue. And the moment that you name her, something starts to shift. Because if you can name her, if you can notice her, then she can't actually be you. You can't be the thing that you're observing. And here's what I want you to really take in. Sue is made of thought and thought only. That's all she is. But for years, you've believed that she is you, that her opinions are your truth, that her worries are facts, that her running commentary is just what you think. And because you've believed she's you, and of course you've listened to her, of course you've taken her seriously, and you've been taking instructions from a voice that you didn't even know was separate from you. So she's not a flaw in you, she's not a sign that something's gone wrong, she's the part of your mind that has been running in the background since you were small, narrating, judging, warning, bracing, and somewhere along the way you started mistaking that constant narration for yourself. So the whole of this work begins with one simple shift, learning to see Sue instead of being her. So here's the part that makes Sue so much easier to spot. She isn't random, she isn't infinite, she's actually very predictable because everything she comes down to is in 3 drives, and those 3 drives spell her name. So S is for safety. So Sue's first and deepest job is to keep you safe. Not happy, safe. This is where worry, anxiety, over-preparing and that endless drive to do more all come from. She treats a mistake as work or letting someone down as genuine danger. The U is for uncertainty or the unknown. So Sue hates not knowing. She tries to predict, control, fill in the blanks and tell stories about what things mean. And this is where most overthinking lives. Every what if, every conversation you try to decode, every decision that you second guess, that's Sue trying to make the unknown known, because not knowing feels unsafe to her. And the E is for exposure. Sue does not want you exposed. She doesn't want you seen, judged, criticised or disagreed with. This is where people-pleasing, imposter feelings, playing small, self-criticism and criticism of others all live. It's where she does her most exhausting work, is managing how you come across, scanning for what everyone thinks, and editing you, filtering you within your life. So that's the whole map: safety, uncertainty, and exposure. And almost every anxious, overthinking, self-critical thought you have is one of these three at work. And once you can see which one is running, you stop taking the thoughts so personally, because you can see it's just Sue doing her job, not the truth about who you are. Now, because you are intelligent and a proactive person, you haven't just sat there and suffered. You've tried to quieten this voice. You've probably bought self-help books and done some therapy, tried journaling, repeated affirmations, or maybe learnt complex nervous system tools. And let's be honest, some of it helped, right? But here's why it never fully changed things. Almost all of that treats the voice as something to manage, something to soothe it or override it or drown it out. It gives you more to do, more routines, more practices to keep up. And when life gets hard and you're under real pressure, those techniques tend to fall apart. You're either too tired to remember the steps, or they just don't seem to touch the depth of what you're feeling. And then, and this is the cruelest part, you pick yourself apart for failing at your own self-care. The healing becomes one more thing that you're not doing well enough. So here's what I want you to hear. You don't need another routine to be okay. You don't need to fix yourself, because you've been working incredibly hard to fix something that was never broken. The problem was not that you hadn't found the right tool. The problem is that no one has ever showed you that the voice running the whole pattern isn't you. It's Sue. And you can't outmanage a voice you still believe is yourself. And honestly, Sue never runs out of energy, but you do. So you don't need more strategies to control your mind. You need to see what's actually happening in it. Because here's what changes everything. Certainly it was what changed everything for me. When you realise Sue is just a voice, a predictable 3-part program that's running in the background, you stop taking her so personally. Your anxiety, your overthinking, your self-criticism stop being proof that there's something wrong with you, and they become information. They're a signal that you have temporarily got caught up in one of Sue's 3 drives. And I'm not going to tell you to fight her or force her to quieten down. That just ends up in more managing. So the goal is not having a silent mind. The goal is for your mind to be able to be noisy if it is, but for you to stay steady within that. So you can hear Sue, but just not give her the steering wheel. And here's another thing that a lot of people don't ever get told. When you're not lost in Sue, you're not left with nothing. There's something far wiser underneath her, your own quiet knowing, the part of you that was just consistent all along. That's where the real guidance comes from, and that's where this whole series of videos is going to end up in. So here's where I'd start. Before you can change your relationship with Sue, it helps enormously to know which of her 3 drives is loudest in you and within your experience, because we all tend to lean into one or more than others. So I've made a free quiz, and it's called Meet Sue, and it takes less than 2 minutes, and it will show you which letter, safety, uncertainty, or exposure, Sue reaches for most when your mind starts to get really busy. So the link is in the description and also pinned in the comment below. So go over and meet Sue, and in the next video we'll take the first letter, safety, and look at exactly how it runs your day. So if this was helpful, please subscribe so that you don't miss the rest of this series, and I'll see you there. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.